year have begun with Carson Wentz, but don't even think about him being anywhere else going forward. He's owed over $25 million next season. The dead money would be $60 million if he's not there. He's coming back. With all their struggles, they need help, but that doesn't seem like it's on the way right now. They're currently $49 million over the cap, and help through the draft. Well, the Eagles haven't drafted a Pro Bowler besides Wentz since 2014, so the troubles are mounting. But despite all that, Wentz remains optimistic.
You got to be introspective, kind of see where you're at with everything. But at the same time, my process with how I prepare, how I get ready, all of those things, that never changes. But at the same time, you do have to look at where you can get better, where you can improve, and what's maybe holding you back. I don't feel indecisive out there. There's times in every game, whether it's the past, whether I'm playing at a high level or struggling, whatever it is, you misplace. Every week I look at those and how can I learn from it? How can I go forward? But as far as being decisive and trusting these guys, I know I can do a better job of that, and I plan to.
All right, so we've talked so much about the Eagles this week, but I really wanted to bring it back with Lewis here because Lewis, of course, did the game Monday night for us on Monday Night Football. So you've just seen them up close and personal, Lewis. How would you put your finger on their problem right now?
Well, I think, if you start small and then move outward, if you start small and you start with Carson, look, it's the expected plays that he's not making that are the most disappointing. The clean pocket throws that he's not making. The plays where there's simple reads and he's just missing open wide receivers that are giving them chances for explosive plays. Those are the things that are most disappointing to me and were most disappointing on Monday night to watch happen. Now, there's a lot that really falls right on his lap as far as just the lack of execution. So he's going to have to go back and look at his process and look at how he is able to execute on game day and figure out what went wrong this year in particular. As far as everything else that is around him, look, there's been other teams that have dealt with offensive line injuries and offensive line, mishaps that have still been able to function at a relatively high level, at least high enough in order for them to win football games. The Eagles have not. They have just gotten bludgeoned, and Carson has bared the brunt of that. Offensive line has lost basically, 3/4 of it, or 3/5 of the starting unit that was projected before the season. On the perimeter, they haven't drafted anybody who is really an explosive number one type of receiver, number one type of weapon. The draft failings have been huge. The defense bore the brunt of the offense's failings on Monday night. You saw how well that they played, but they just weren't able to hold up over the course of 3.5 hours or however long the game took. They're going to have to go back and reevaluate this entire process in Philadelphia, starting with Carson, but really looking at what have they done in order to fail organizationally that has put them in this position.
And so, Shefty, then I turn to you because we pointed out earlier, Carson Wentz isn't going anywhere. The contract suggests he's definitively going to be their starting quarterback next year. So if it doesn't get better in this last month, what should we expect the fallout to look like?
Well, listen, whenever you have the type of season that the Eagles have had, somebody is going to pay the price for that, right? Again, this is a city that wants blood when its team doesn't perform. There has never been a division that is easier to win in the history of football than the NFC East this season. It might be that 6 wins that division. And if that division winner is not in Philadelphia, and even if it is in Philadelphia, the fans are not going to be happy. And look, we know the owner right now is not happy. So somebody's going to pay for that. In the end, I don't know whether that's going to be, well, it's not going to be the quarterback, right? So you always look at the quarterback and the head coach first. The quarterback is safe with the money. You start to look at the head coach. Would he consider a move there? As crazy as that sounds, right? And then you look at the defensive coaching staff. So, again, I think there are a lot of places you look, but there's no way that the status quo is going to remain in Philadelphia after a season like this.
All right, let's see what December winds up looking like for them. Meanwhile, Shefty, lace up the running shoes because we got to get to the next order of business. I hope people have been following this week. It began with a Chiefs fan who posted this. Your first follow has to race you with football pads on. Who wins? Tyreek Hill tweeted at Adam Schefter saying basically he's ready for that, suggesting Shefty was his first follow. Shefty followed up by responding, this is happening post-COVID. Well, we had Tyreek Hill on this show on Tuesday, and he had this message.
Yes, Shefty, man, post-COVID, we got to get it in, man, for charity or something like that, and let's just have fun with it and roll it. And guess what, Shefty? If we run 100 yards, I will give you 40 yards, fully padded me, and I will beat you, man. I'm calling you out, Shefty. I'm calling you out.
Okay, now Shefty, you should know that I immediately assumed the role of your representative, and I started negotiating for more yards. So I asked for 50 yards. He said no. How do you feel about this race right now, Adam Shefty?
Well, in a 100-yard dash, if he's giving me 40 yards, I wouldn't stand a chance in hell. Okay, let's be very clear about that. And I don't want it to be a 100-yard dash. Okay, 100. I don't know that I could have the stamina to make it 100 yards. Okay, let's go 40 yards, and let's go where he gives me maybe 30, 35 yards, and maybe then, maybe I'd have a chance to beat the cheetah.
You only gotta run 60 yards. He's gonna give you 40, so you don't gotta run the whole 100. You run 60, he runs 100, and we're good to go. I believe in you, Adam. I think you can do it.
Nick, I appreciate the support. I checked with sources, and they said, do not allow this race for charity. And I want to emphasize, for charity, I checked with sources. Do not allow this race to go beyond 40 yards. Now,
Okay.
I do think that he should have to run backwards, and I should run forwards, and then maybe I would have some sort of chance to beat the cheetah. Short of that, I'm going to embarrass myself, which I'm good with doing as long as it's for a good cause.
As the fastest person on the screen right now, I'm going to be the cheetah's representative since Greeny wants to represent you, and we won't accept anything shorter than 80. We'll do 80, you run 40, we'll do 80, and I also think charity's great. I'm all for that. However, we got to put some stakes on this. If you lose, you need to copy the hairdo. I want some blonde tips if you lose. We need to put some stakes on this. You go with the cheetah hairdo, and the cheetah goes with the Schefter hairdo or something like that. We need some stakes. You guys can't just put it on charity. That's lazy.
This is getting away from us here. Lewis, scout this out. Yes, what do you think?
Shefty, I think if you give him 40, he gonna walk you down at about 20 to go. He gonna walk you down. You better just go ahead and say, look, give me 50 yards, and I tell you what, and you roll into it. So you roll into it, and that 50, then you let him go. Don't start from a static start. Don't do that.
I would just say this. If we do 100, I don't want to do 100, okay? Like, that's just too much on my Achilles and my back. I'm 53 years old. I'll be 54 later this month. Okay, let me just say this, though. But even if we go 40 yards, like, the image of him blowing right past me is going to be great video. Great video.
That's all we need. I got to take a break.
Hey,
D-Wood,
Shefty,
real quick. D-Wood, go.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Listen, Shefty, we're built different, man. You're built like you're more like a lineman, okay? We're only built for like 10 yards. Okay,
You guys aren't helping. You aren't helping. Lou and Woody, you're not helping. Do you want it to happen or not?
I'll just say this, and if the one thing I didn't expect to hear in 2020 was, Shefty, you're built like a lineman. Okay, we'll take a quick break. As we continue, is Mike McCarthy really the right fit in Dallas? Why Jerry Jones says this is all a case of deja vu. Plus, not one, but two blockbusters in the